sky was gray and cloudy and the wind was from the west, when we spied a battered frigate with her tattered sail full dressed. They signaled they had letters home, they asked if we could take. They dropped them in a barrel, they left bobbing in their wake. We reefed the sails and slowed the ship to fish the barrel out. The old ship sailed to the distance, then we saw her come about. The captain watched through a spyglass when we heard him catch his breath, and we saw the storm a-brewing had become a wall of death. Turn the ship around, me boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. What of the ship that's out there, do we leave her to the gale? She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails. The thunder growled like demons, and the lightning stabbed the waves, and the Dutchman, she leapt towards us, riding fury from the grave. Our captain, he stayed at the wheel, the crew, they manned the lines, and still that ship and storm were quickly closing in behind. Our ship would crest a giant wave and crash to the trough below, and the crew held on to what they could, they were damned if they let go. The rain and sea and storm winds crashed against our ship with wrath, and from the deck of that cursed ship we could hear them laugh. Turn the ship around, me boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails. That was when we sighted land, it became a race with time. We believed in Santa Marta, the Dutchman closing in behind. Risk it all, the captain howled, it's the only chance we've got. Salvation if we make it, and our souls if we get caught. The storm was all around us, and the Dutchman caught our wind. The beast nearly capsized us, and we watched our strongmast bend. We were almost to the harbor, we could see the natural break, and each man wheeled her forward, for they knew what was at stake. Turn the ship around, me boys, turn around and run. The storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails. Once we charged into that harbor, the Flying Dutchman heaved away, and we heard their bitter screams, for the devil lost his prey. Once we made it safely to the leeward of the bay, we cracked that barrel open to see what those letters say. There must have been 100, and that's when we realized these moldy parchments were addressed to those who'd long since died. If you see a battered frigate neath a gray and stormy sky, give way and watch behind you, or you'll hear your captain cry. Turn the ship around, me boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails.
Hi. How's everyone doing? Happy Tuesday. I'm excited for today's chapter. You'll understand in time. You'll understand. It doth slap. I love our line of dance emojis. Hey. Okay, let me Gosh, there's so much I have to have open right now. It's getting hard to navigate my own desktop. Yeah. There's not a whole lot that I can preface with that I haven't already said, which is mostly this one's a banger. This one's a banger. Now pay attention. I'm not gonna say anything that I was going to say because I don't want to give away anything that happens. I think we just dive into it. I think we gotta just dive into it. There's nothing I can say before this that would be worth saying. It's like, yeah, I woke up. I woke up multiple times today. I I hyped up this chapter so much that my brain took that as a cue to wake up at 8 a.m. for no reason, which sounds very normal, except for the part where I usually get up at 12:30. So that's 8 is early for me. I went back to sleep after that, don't worry. But truly, I have not done much today aside from think about this. And actually, this is the earliest chapter. It's not the first test run that I did, but it is the earliest chapter that I have a test run for. So, like, last night I was, like, listening along to my past self and, like, okay, here's some things that we can do better for the real thing. And, you know, following along, with the, so that I can, for my, I run through the chapter each time before streams so that I know what to have on my radar so that I don't, for instance, like, so I can if there's like any words that I'm not entirely certain how to pronounce, I can just like do a quick Google. Or if there's a certain line that I just got to deliver with a straight face, I can have that on my radar. But yeah. That's just fun little behind the scenes thing. I'm not going to publish the test runs because they're not. They're simultaneously not going to be any better or more interesting than the actual streams, because like the whole point of them was to be pretty much exactly what this is, but then also they're not better, like so they're not substantially different, but they're also inferior at the same time. Or at least I hope. This particular one, I was like, damn, slow down. And, well, I've mentioned that I literally have a sticky on my computer right below my screen that tells me to slow down. It's already faded into the background, and it doesn't, like, light up, so it's kind of backlit and hard to see. But it does exist. And I'd like to think that I've, you know, internalized a slower speaking pace, and I think works a little better. Anyway, all of that is just me thinking about stuff that doesn't really matter that much. Which is most of my thoughts. Just thinking really hard about something that's not going to end up mattering too much. But I care, so I'm going to care. I think we just dive right in. Now that I've successfully padded out some time, and my brain has unlocked the door that goes, okay, you've rambled about nothing before stream for long enough, now you can jump into the intro. I don't understand my brain any better than y'all do. It is a obstacle to a lot of things. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is this. What matters is that this is the 14th installment of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Harper, but you can call me KK, and my pronouns are they, it. If you're new, you chose a good time to arrive. Please read the chat rules if you're in Twitch chat live. Be chill, have a good time. We're gonna have a good time today. Your Words Destroyed My Planet by Unda is a million-word Homestuck fic that focuses on Dave's soul cat. It's an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. As of now, the fic is currently unfinished. In this stream series, I aim to read the entire thing aloud by myself. For some reason. The reason is autism. Please take note of the tags on this fic, we're looking at them right now, and be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. If you would like to read back what I just said, I dilly-dallied less during that this time, so I'm not going to, well, I've gone ahead and, what's the word? Modified. What's the synonym for modified? Damn it. Qualified. I always take the, if you would like to read back what I just said, and I always qualify it. And I was going to point out that I didn't need to this time, but by doing so, I had indeed done so anyway. Anyway, all that to say, you can type !fic about in chat whenever you like. If you would like a link to the fic itself on AO3, you can use !fic link, that'll take you to chapter 1. If you have video quality that is bad, I would recommend doing that. Because yeah. So that way you can see it on your own screen in clarity and read along and not have problems. And then !fic song is a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command sadly cannot tell you which song is currently happening, but there's folks in chat. There's me in here. If you have questions, there shall be answers. And then !fic sorry is just a couple of disclaimers / apologies because I am not perfect. This is a solo project. This is a live project. I needed to lower my standards for myself in order for it to see the light of day. And that is where we're at. And finally, you can use !VODs to get a link to my YouTube archive where I'll be putting every VOD for this series as well as anything else that I may stream in the future. Fun fact, that part in the scripted bit, hi Soma! You came at a good time! Fun fact is that every time I say as well as anything else I may stream in the future, I always word it like that, and the part that I read off of just says as well as my other streams, but every single time I read that, I'm like, what other streams? So I always change it when I say it out loud. Anyway. all of that is not as important as what I'm about to say right now, which is, welcome, dear friends, to Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 14. You wake in the morning with that weird dream still lingering at the edges of your think sponge. Part of you is sure that it's not a dream, and all of you wants to ask Dave about it. When you actually sit up in bed and look around, you find that Dave is already gone, but given that you can smell distant scents of food through the open door, you bet you can guess where he's gone to. I want the meat feast! Cornel insists loudly. You always get that. We're going to be eating standard rations on Somnos. Don't eat the same thing over and over here, Astasha says with a deep sigh. I want what I want! Cornel snaps. Why are you so frustrating sometimes? Astasha hisses at her. You sit up in your bed, trying to pretend that you're not hearing this argument across the room, and as Marcy walks in the room, toweling her hair off, you get the feeling that she's ignoring it too. If you're waiting for them to be ready to get breakfast, I'd suggest just going without them, Marcy says quietly as she passes you. Yeah, that's probably smart. You change quickly, ignoring the ongoing argument between the couple. It works out that you're ready to go when Marcy is, so the two of you leave together. Do they fight a lot? You ask her warily, glancing back to be sure they're not following you. It's not really arguing. They bicker. A lot of people think it means they're vacillating, but they're both just pretty stubborn people. They don't mean anything by it, and they always kiss and make up or whatever. People do their quadrants however they want. It's none of my business, she answers, and you get the impression that she's suggesting that it's not any of yours. Oh, if that's how they are, then that's fine. It would just be a little worrying if they were having some big problem right before we all have to go to space. More than we're already in space. I mean, you add that last part with a frown. I get that. You should order food, though, Marcy suggests. You take her suggestion and have ordered by the time you make it to the main area with all the tables. Marcy wanders off to other people, and you head over to Dave. Part of you is mad that you're getting so clingy with him, but he is supposed to be responsible for you, and he's at the table with Jade, Jake, and Aradia, so it's not as if there's no one else to talk to besides him. Morning, Jake says cheerily as you go to sit down. Aradia looks up from her very large takeout cup of coffee. She looks pretty goddamn tired, and Dave is looking half asleep too. Weird. Hey, Solix, how was your first night? I always find it a little weird being in a different room in a different bed. Jade asks you pleasantly as she stirs her bowl of incredibly fruity oatmeal. Seriously, it's almost more fruit than oatmeal. Not too bad. Weird dreams, though, you say. Ugh, no, Dave groans. Do you have something to say, grumpy butt? Jade asks him. Dave sighs and looks over at you. Look, Solix, I love you, man. We're cool. I care about your thoughts and feelings and all that jazz. Not diminishing that, but I get enough dream talk already from Jade, Dave tells you. We're very vivid dreamers in our family, Jake explains. Vivid is fine, no problem with that. Generally, someone else's dream is never as interesting as your own, though. Also, unlike Dirk, I'm not sleeping with you, so I'm not obligated to listen to your dreams, Jake. As for Jade, I take issue with how often I'm blamed for shit that Dream Dave does. I can't be held responsible for Dream Me, Dave argues. My dreams are emotive. It's not my fault, Jade says and sticks her tongue out at him. You were once mad at me for a whole day because you dreamt we were dolphins and I wouldn't swim with you to where you wanted to go and I got eaten by an orca, Dave says flatly. You should have followed me. I will die on this morally right hill, Jade insists. What did you dream, Solix? Jake asks diplomatically, as behind him Dave insists that he is not now, nor has ever been, a dolphin, and ergo is not responsible. It was nothing as involved as that. I think I was dreaming anyway. I heard something, I think, and I thought Dave had got up or whatever and looked over the bed to see where he was, but I saw that he was asleep there. I couldn't move, and I could feel this presence behind me, like breathing down my neck, and I think I could see the edges of someone at the corner of my vision. I was frozen in place. It was so weird, you explain. So, was someone there? You saw someone? Aradia asks curiously. I'm not sure. You frown. It's all a little hazy now. That sounds like a sleep paralysis thing to me. I've had that before. Basically, your think sponge has partly woken up, but part of it is still dreaming, so you're aware of what's around you. The same parts of your think sponge that stop you acting out your dreams keep you in place, so you're paralyzed in your dream. It can be really scary sometimes, Jade says enthusiastically. Oh gosh, I've had one of those before. There was this thing just sat on my chest, and it was the most frightening experience. Of course, Dirk, a notoriously light sleeper, managed to sleep through the whole thing. He got quite the shock when I fully woke up and was thrashing about in a panic. Jake laughs. That explanation completely makes sense, and you can't put any holes in it exactly, but it doesn't feel quite right. Sorry I had that. Nightmares suck, Dave says sympathetically. The back of your neck prickles, and you reach up to rub it. What freaks you out, though, is Aradia staring. At first, you'd thought she was staring at you, but now that you're looking at her, you can see her gaze resting slightly behind you to your right. What? You ask her warily. What? Aradia says back, her focus on you now. Okay, you genuinely are creeped out now, and you just can't resist the temptation to look behind you, but of course there's no one there, not unless you're counting people at tables far beyond you having their own conversations. You look back at Aradia, and you figure she's probably just seen some ghost wander past, which might be why you feel weird by proxy. Your psionics do play with hers. You could ask her if that was it, but you actually don't want to know if some dead person is gliding spookily about by you, and you've long since learned not to ask questions like that when you don't want the answer. You're entirely happy being not haunted, thanks. You're going to go about your morning totally alive and deliberately unaware of any dead people of any kind. Over the next 2 weeks, a lot happens. You get to see a good number of briefings, which only partly interest you. Mainly, you just get to see what equipment is being used where, or from your point of view, just how much frozen fucking wasteland you're gonna have to travel through to repair things. You spend time with Kupram as the two of you go over everything you're going to need to repair. It is somewhat comforting that you'll be able to call him if you really need help. Dave, on the other hand, is still in secret meetings every so often with Aradia, and it's unreasonably frustrating that no one else seems to find this odd at all. On the topic of not getting any information, you've found that it's impossible to get Karkat to talk about his latest idea about him somehow being the root cause of everything that's wrong in the world. Him not talking about it sucks because without him saying dumb shit, you can't poke holes in his logic. If you just come out and say that you think he's a good person who isn't causing problems, you know his stupid ass will think he somehow manipulated you into doing that, which is a whole shit show you don't need tickets to. You're almost desperate enough to troll Gamzee to tell him to do his fucking job and be a Moira already, but you're not quite that desperate. Yet. I've come to a conclusion, you say to Dave as he dries his hair off from his shower. Go on, Dave says from within the depths of his towel as he rubs at his hair. Quarantine is both pretty tense and pretty boring, you say. Everyone in the room agrees with you in a bored kind of way. Dave doesn't feel the need to add to his agreement when he tosses his towel over the door to his locker, but he does give you an amused smile. Nearly out of it, Dave reminds you. I know. Shouldn't we be packing? You ask. Launch day is tomorrow, after all. Launch isn't until 2 in the afternoon tomorrow. We still have to change twice before we launch, so there's no point, he assures you. You still haven't really told me what it's like, you point out. I've told you what happens, Dave says. He leans his elbows on the edge of your bed to look at you, and your train of thought skitters away from you. Your hair's curling, you say quietly, and touch one section of his hair that's getting a spiral shape to it. It's striking out on its own. I told you what's going to happen tomorrow, Dave says, because he remembers the point. Yeah, you told me where we sit and what the procedure is. You didn't tell me what it's like, you emphasize. First you go on psionic blockers in the morning, and that sucks. It feels like your sinuses are rock solid, as Dasha chips in. Looking forward to that, you mutter. Are you asking what it feels like? Not what happens, but how you feel? Dave asks uncertainly. Launch sucks, Lunk says from his bunk, his nose buried in his tablet and whatever he's reading within it. It doesn't, Dave protests. It kind of does, There's a lot of waiting and sitting at an awkward angle. You're dealing with zero-G for the first time, as Daja adds. Telemetry has to clear everything, and there's lots of back and forth with Nepeta and Polypa. They're the captains involved. If you're not doing something, it's both tense and dull. It's different for you, Dave, Marcy reminds him. I guess. Well, there's a lot of that. Launch from the ship isn't too bad. There's a kick from being ejected, and then the trip to Somnos' orbit is about 45 minutes. Meeting up with the station is fine. Pretty stressful for people trying to connect up, but for us it's fine, Dave explains. When we get down through the atmosphere, it's weird the first time, but you're psionic like me. You're not going to have a problem with it. It just feels a little like the shuttle's going to come apart, but it doesn't. It's just loud and shaky, as Daja assures you. So, tense and boring, you conclude. Pretty much. The travel is the worst part of space travel. The planets are way cooler, Connell tells you. Especially this one? Lank says with a sly smile, and below him you hear Marcy snort in amusement. It actually takes you a second to catch the pun. You hadn't been expecting it from Lank, who's normally above that sort of thing. At least, he pretends he is. Ah, fuck, I can't believe you've done this, Dave says flatly, looking over at Lank, who seems as self-satisfied and smug as it's trollishly possible to be. You're nervous all evening, the launch looming large in your mind. At one point, Dave wanders out into the main rec area where a few other people with instruments have gathered, and it seems like an impromptu show just happens by itself. They play sea shanties, of course, and you listen for a bit, just out of interest, but even here there doesn't seem to be anything incredibly pertinent in the songs. You'd be lying if you said you didn't pay extra attention when Aradia happens to be singing, or when Dave is playing on his violin, or even the guitar there. It'd be almost better to admit that you were scrutinizing them for hidden motives, but your thought process was mostly just thinking that they're hot and not much else. Sleep doesn't come easily for you that night, so you do what you usually do when you can't sleep. It's not long until launch now. Yeah, can't sleep. That's why I'm awake at this hour. What about you? Insomnia's been bad lately. Do you want to talk about that? Because I'm pretty sure I can guess why. I do not. Look, it's not that I don't appreciate it. I just think I need to really consider what I'm doing before I do it, and why I'm doing it too. KK, you're really not this awful manipulative monster. I never said I was a monster. That's a little much. Really? Are you sure I shouldn't control F the word monster? Well, if you do it with your quirk, you're definitely never gonna find me saying that. Checkmate, shitbag. Love you too, KK. You say the sweetest things. Yeah, shut your squawk blister. Shouldn't you be sleeping for this big mission instead of talking to me? Can't sleep. Nervous. Also, aware that being super tired is gonna make things worse, so I'm recursively stressing about that too. Nice. Recursive, self-fulfilling worries. A classic move I know all too well. Your thumb skids across your screen, sending gibberish. Dave's just got out of bed, utterly silently, and his sudden appearance roughly near your head startled the life out of you. He looks around at you in the dark, the subtle red in his eyes turning on you as he looks at you. Hey, can't sleep? He whispers, leaning against your bed. You shake your head mutely, knowing he can see you in whatever light. Just try and relax. I got your back for this whole mission, remember? You're gonna be fine. Dave whispers. Yeah, you manage to say, over the sound of your blood pusher hammering in your chest. Cool. Be right back. Dave smiles and leaves, probably to the ablution block or something. What? Solix? Sorry, Dave just got up and made me jump. He's so goddamn quiet sometimes. Remember when we were kids and he used to insist he was some kind of ninja, that his whole family were? I remember Rose saying that if she confirmed it, she'd have to kill me. That checks out. Look, I'll make you a deal. Let's both try to get to sleep again. See if you can be less of a failure than me. I don't really agree with the principle of that, but I can get on board for the end part. Yes, Karkat is far fewer letters. I can't agree with you. You'd never let it go. Go to sleep, asshat. I'll be there at launch tomorrow to see you off. Cool, I can look at your face and that'll make me want to launch myself into space. Oh, fuck off. You turn your palm husk face down on the sheets and pull the blanket up over your shoulders. Wait, no, there's one more conversation you need to have. I know you're probably asleep, but I'm about to be launched into space tomorrow. If I die, delete my browser history. Well, now you can relax with that firmly taken care of. You rest on your side, and your hand slides to your neck in Matuna's stupid decoder ring. You vaguely remember hearing once about how your fingertips are so sensitive that they can pick up a change in texture at a level of microns or something. Dave would probably know, given how he used to be blind. You think he could read stuff by touching it, if you remember right. Either way, you can feel the slight indents of the symbols on the ring as you touch it. You put a little pressure on it and quietly spin the disc on the ring. If Matuna was here, he'd be excited for you. He'd love this shit. You didn't always get along. You weren't perfect ancestors, but you were closer than most that you know. The two of you were so close in age that your relationship felt more like Rose's and Dave's than either of them with their older siblings. Losing him hurt so bad. It still hurts, and it probably always will. There's the dangerously stupid thought of, hey, you don't know he's dead, and maybe you'll find him out on this planet, somehow, through some stupid coincidence. You push that aside and try to think about the fact that he'd be excited for you, and maybe you can do this for him, since it's not like he's going to get to do any of this himself now. You spin the ring around absently, and something about the repetitive motion sends you to sleep. It was probably pretty quick, too, because you don't remember Dave coming back in the room. When morning comes, you get up and get dressed in your regular clothes. Dave and the others show you how to pack your bag as tightly and efficiently as possible, leaving out the underlayer of your flight suit out on the bed. You do also find that you've got a message from Hal when you were packing, which you reply to. You're not gonna die. Well, that is always the plan. But this is a serious oath, Hal. Are you really gonna let me down, huh? Fine. I will delete your browser history in the event of your death so that your shameful internet searches die with you. I can only assume that in order for you to be ashamed of it, that it's not anything smutty, but rather coding for complete beginners, because actually you don't know anything and you're a fraud. Don't worry, Solix. Your secret dies with me. I'm haunting you. I've decided. Sorry, can't hear you over the sound of me planting other incriminating things in a fake search history for others to find. Definitely haunting you. You put your pomp husk away and worriedly look over your stuff now that you know your posthumous reputation is secured. The rest of it'll be here when we get out of breakfast and the meeting, don't worry. Dave assures you and guides you out of the room. But you do worry. You're nervous all the way to breakfast, and though you make sure that you do eat, it's really just so you don't pass out from low blood sugar or something. The chatter around the room sounds excited in a positive kind of way. You don't think anyone here has any real worries about things going wrong. After breakfast, you have the crew-wide meeting, something that you've not had until now. People have had meetings about their own personal areas of expertise and various levels of seniority have got together, but this is the first time you've seen everyone all together, and you can't help but feel a little insecure about your place here. Nepeta and Polypus stand before the whole mission crew, both of them radiating a calm authority that quietens the room around them without them having to ask for silence. We haven't had any changes regarding who is in what shuttle in the last 2 weeks, but I'll run over who is to go where, and in addition, your seat number, Polypa explains. You have that down somewhere, and you search through your tablet for it. The shuttle seating is broken up between those who are actively flying the ship and those who are just passengers. You're not actively working on anything, so you're in one of the passenger seats, right next to Dave, who is responsible for making sure you don't fling yourself out mid-flight and attack the navigation controls or something. Not that you're going to do that, but Polypa has been very clear that you are entirely Dave's responsibility. As Polypa said, your seating hasn't changed, but you get to hear where everyone else is. Everyone in your block is in your shuttle, which is good. You've started to get along with them a fair bit in all the time you've been together. Polypa is in your shuttle, which kind of sucks because you'd prefer Nepeta, but whatever. You've been designated a place in Shuttle 2, so you've already got something you wanted. You can't ask for more. Surprisingly, Jade, Jake, Aradia, and Nepeta are all in the first shuttle. The weird thing is, you're pretty sure that the shuttle arrangement is weird. You're pretty sure you shouldn't whisper in the meeting, so you shoot Dave a message instead. Hey, I thought Jake was meant to be at our station on Somnos.
He is, last I checked. I mean, he might go back and forth, depending on what people need, but he's mostly at our place.
Right, and I thought Coopram was at the other station.
Yeah, he is.
So why is Jake on Shuttle 1 and Coopram is on 2?
We're not staying this way, remember? We're going to the orbital station and then going down to our bases.
Right. But why the switching between now and then? It seems like needless complication.
Hey, if you want to call Nepeta and Polypa on it, be my guest. Actually, don't be my guest. They'll yell at me.
Okay, but why is it like that?
Man, sometimes you just gotta smile and nod. Besides, you and I don't have to switch shuttles, so it's not our problem.
I guess.
Okay, pay attention now.
That was a wildly unsatisfactory conversation. You can't tell if Dave knows and isn't telling you, or if he's just better at the not asking questions thing. He is right, in a way. It's not your problem, and if Coopram and Jake have to swap about at the station, then it's hardly any stress for you. It's just weird is all.
The flight team have already been briefed on their specific directives, but I want to make it absolutely imperative that they not be distracted. Chatter must be at an absolute minimum. I know we've done this over and over again before, but we need the utmost quiet this time. The interference caused by Somnos is going to make things tricky, so we need to give the flight team our silent support, Nepeta emphasizes.
Somnos' problems happen on planet and its atmosphere, not between here and there. What? You look at Dave for some explanation, but he just holds his finger to his lips to urge you to be quiet. Your nerves are crying out that something is wrong here, but you don't have any place to speak in this meeting. It just ends with instruction to all get changed and get ready to get onto the shuttles. You trust that Dave isn't leading you to harm, but you have to ask, even if it's just when you get back to your block.
Dave, you try. We gotta get changed, Sal. Kinda on a time crunch here.
Dave reminds you as he pulls his shirt off. I know, but something's weird with this shuttle arrangement. Somnos shouldn't cause interference between here and there. It doesn't make sense why things would be different than usual for that. What's going on? You ask him urgently.
Don't worry about it. You're not having to fly anything, he says.
You grab his arm as he goes to reach for his undersuit on the bed. He looks up at you, black and red eyes fixed on yours. Dave, please, you whisper. Dave winces and closes his eyes for a second or two. When he opens them again, he's looking right at you.
I appreciate that you got questions. I would too, but I just need you to trust me. I agreed to keep you safe through this whole mission, and I'm not leading you into certain death or anything. I can't give you the answers, but I know them,
Dave says in a volume that means only you hear. There are lies going on here. There is stuff you don't know, but he knows, and he's asking you to trust him.
Are we going or not?
He asks. Yeah, we're going. I'm trusting you. You sigh, and Dave's smile is so relieved and grateful that you can't turn back now. Getting into your suit is just as tricky as last time, but you have Dave to help you, and at least this time you're too unnerved about whatever is about to happen in this launch to get nervous about Dave's hands on you.
There you go. All you needed to control your hormones and your inconvenient crush was an urgent sense of impending doom.
Your actual spacesuit itself is pretty easy to get into. It's a little larger than your undersuit and loose enough that you can stretch and bend in any direction without any problems. It's got a display on your arm that syncs with your palm husk, although it's pretty sensibly limited your access to a lot of the apps you have on your palm husk, so you can't get distracted with mobile games when you're supposed to be listening to launch instructions.
Okay, here you go. I'll put this on for you. We're in a part of the ship where you can have the face shield of your helmet out of the way. If for some reason the pressure in the shuttle tanked, it'd snap shut and pressurize you. Got it?
Dave asks as he slides your helmet over your head and twists it and clicks it in place. On your arm, your screen displays that your helmet is locked in and the face shield is open. The helmet itself has something within it that presses against the back of your neck, enough that you're supported, but you've still got a pretty clear range of motion. Nervously, you touch the edges of the helmet and try to wiggle it, but the thing is firmly locked in place. You can't help but think about Vicari as you test it. It doesn't come off again until we're on the planet, Marcy tells you as Dave easily slides his helmet on and clicks it in as casually as you might put a shirt on.
Let's go,
Dave says with a nod.
Your digestion sac feels like it's doing some pretty impressive acrobatics as you contemplate the fact that you're about to go get on a space shuttle. I thought maybe me and Solix might take our psionic suppressants, so we don't explode the shuttle when we're in it, Astasha says flatly. Dave had already turned to walk off and turns back to face you all with a squeak of his space boots. Yes, that was a test. You passed the test of remembering to do the thing that stops you two sparking the shuttle apart. Good job, 10 out of 10, Dave says, clearly trying to suppress a look of wide-eyed alarm. So convincing, Astasha chuckles to himself. He floats a bottle of water over to him, as well as 2 small white cardboard boxes. One has your name and information on, with Dr. J. Egbert as the prescribing physician on the label. Astasha puts his thumb claw through the foil, shakes the white pill out into his hand, and then tosses it back and chases it with a gulp of water. As much as I hate this stuff, you don't want errant psionic sparks screwing with the hull integrity or the shuttle systems. It doesn't last all that long, but it's a sensible precaution, Astasha explains and offers you the water bottle. You do as he did and take the small pill. You don't especially care about germs between you and him, so you drink from the same bottle without any protest. You psionically float the bottle back to the table. It's not immediate, Astasha says, which makes sense given that it's a pill you swallowed and not something that you breathed in or injected or whatever. Okay, right, now let's go, Dave says. That's all you need. Your little group leaves your block and walks through a path that they clearly know well. You pass windows that overlook the shuttles. You can see other people in full spacesuits hurrying around the ships, presumably running last-minute checks. Their little jet propulsion systems make them seem like little bugs in flight from here. As you reach the bottom of a staircase, you pass through a doorway and the strangest feeling overtakes you. You okay? Dave calls back, glancing over his shoulder at you. He's crossed the threshold ahead of you, and as he turns to look at you, his hair moves and hangs there for a moment before slowly drifting back down. That one curl you'd noticed forming, fully defying gravity for several long seconds before settling. We're at the edge of the ship's gravity, you guess. Looking down at your feet, though, you see they're firmly stuck to the floor. You lift one with some resistance and find that it comes free and then sticks on your next step. The boots are magnetic, you conclude. It's clever. Magnets, how do they work? Dave says with a grin. You're lucky there's a whole lot of glass between you and Gamzee right now. I don't like getting in between that fight, Connell says loudly. Shit, yeah, people are watching you now, aren't they? You follow Dave on autopilot and look up and around to see the long window that overlooks the shuttle bay. There's loads of people clustered there to watch the launch, and for a moment you're not sure how you'll find Karkat, at least until you see the deranged waving outline of him. Seriously, he's going at it with both hands, full arm extension to try to get your attention. The urge to pretend you can't see him just to fuck with him arises, but that seems a little too mean, so you simply wave back. Karkat jumps in excitement, you suppose? Goddamn Karkat, never change. Dave laughs softly. Of course he can see him way better than you can. Dave starts walking again, and you continue following him. You eye the huge shuttles as you approach, and now your nerves are starting to get the better of you. You shoot Karkat another glance, but he's too far away for you to see him in all that much detail. Looking back at the shuttles, you can make out that Shuttle 1 and Shuttle 2 are clearly marked out, so you know where you're going. 2 is straight ahead, and those going into 1 have to take a left up ahead. As you pass the crossroad between the 2 shuttles, Dave hesitates. Stay here real quick. I need to check something out. Don't go anywhere, Dave tells you. What? Where are you? You start, but Dave clicks something on his boots and then leaps away through the air, only drifting back down to the ground at a point between the 2 shuttles. Even though the suits do a lot to make everyone look a little different, you can still recognize Aradia. Her helmet is pulled back, and you can see her hair tightly braided to her scalp and curving around her spiral horns. You watch as the 2 of them talk, both glancing to the closed shuttle bay door. Come on, Kunil says, nudging you. You're not fully in her way, but you have stopped a little awkwardly. He said I should wait. What are they talking about? You ask, not taking your eyes off the pair. You think I've got super hearing? Stay here if he said so, but I'm going up, Kunil says, and moves past you.
You step out of the way for the others so your line of sight is unobstructed. You stare as Aradia takes Dave's hand and holds it gently. Her mouth is moving like she's saying something, but she's not looking at him. It's as if she's staring off into nothing. "What?" you mumble to yourself as the rest of Dave's little crew moves behind you. There's a flash, suddenly, like a camera bulb exploding, and then absolute darkness. It lasts just a split second, but it leaves you reeling. Enough so that you jerk backwards and bump into Marcy.
"You okay?"
Marcy asks, her hands on your shoulders. "What was that?" you ask as you stare up at the ceiling, unable to pick out any blown floodlight or anything. It wouldn't make sense for a floodlight to have blown. That could have caused the flash of light, sure. It doesn't explain the equally intense darkness right after. Nothing generates darkness. That doesn't make sense. "What's wrong?" Marcy asks. "Did you see that?" you ask her. "See what?" she questions you, staring you down. "That flash of light and then total darkness? What the hell could do that? Shit, what if that's a reaction to the medication or something?" You look around for Astasia, but he must have gone ahead with his mate sprint. Shit. "Don't worry, you're fine. Change in gravity, lights, stress, it's fine. Hi, Dave," Marcy says, and you look around to see him landing again near you. "Hi, come on, let's go," Dave says, urging you towards the shuttle. "He saw a flash of light and then complete darkness," Marcy chips in as she walks off to the shuttle. "Cool, great, wonderful. Hey, Solux, don't be super obvious or anything, but can you look over my shoulder and see if Aradia is giving me a look like she wants to set me on fire with her eyes?" Dave asks you. You glance behind him and see that, yeah, Aradia is giving him something of a death stare. Yeah. Listen, what did I just see?" you ask him. "Don't worry about it. We don't have time for this. We have to go. Come on," Dave insists.
Dave?
You insist. Dave closes his eyes for a moment and sighs. When he opens them again, his expression is serious.
"Remember how you were like, 'Dave, I know you lie sometimes even if I don't get why, but you don't need to do that with me, so if you're gonna lie, just don't?'" he asks.
Not my exact words, but yeah. You nod.
"I'm not lying to you, but I'm not saying anything else either except we gotta go," he says.
He catches your hand and leads you toward the shuttle. Maybe you can ask him more questions when you're sat down. You know there's a bunch of checks before you have to launch. You're pretty sure there's text communication of some kind on your suit's display, even if it's not Trollian. You reach the edge of the shuttle, and you don't even have time for one last look back at Karkat as Dave instead nudges you onto the ladder, leaving you no choice but to climb. The ladder runs up the outside of the shuttle for a way, and then leads up into and continues through a tube. Decently far up ahead, you can see other people climbing up. Your boots stick to the ladder with each rung, so although you're nearly weightless, it still takes effort. You've been in here before with Kupram, but when it was just the two of you and you could fly with your psionics, it felt different. You weren't going anywhere. You're glad that you did, because now you know that you don't get off on the first level that you're able to. This is all full of equipment that's stored away and packed so tightly that you're hoping you don't have to personally take any of it out. There's a few trolls who aren't on the mission. Their heads are completely contained in helmets of their own, so they don't break your quarantine, but they're not in official spacesuits like you are. Neither of them spares you a glance as they go over their last checks. The ladder continues to the main travel compartment of the shuttle. The room itself is a tube, because the shuttle is also. The ladder comes up through the center of the room, putting you on a platform that's in the center of the main flight controls. 5 consoles border this central platform in a pentagon shape, each staffed with someone who's responsible for guiding the flight of the shuttle, monitoring its state, and communicating with the Atuan and the other shuttle. The sailors responsible for this are already sat in place, strapped in, and busy at work. One of those 5 is Palapa, who is presumably overseeing all of this. Beyond the central console, the walls of the shuttle are lined with people getting settled into place. The seating here for everyone else is done in almost a tiered system. There's a lower ring set slightly forward, and behind them a double-stacked area of lockers. Most have their doors rolled shut, but you can see plenty with their bags still exposed. Above these lockers is a narrow platform that leads to the upper seats. The walls of the room, where it's not taken up by seating, is thickly reinforced white-coated metal.
Dotted across its surface are grab rails and slack yellow and black cords crossed through the open space. Your guess is to aid in mobility in zero-gravity situations when someone might have to move about through the shuttle. There are no windows, no surplus monitors, and although intellectually you know you've been here before and you know they try to keep weight down, it feels oddly blank. You don't have time to puzzle over this because you have to get to your seat. The area you're heading to is one you'd already worked out from before with Cuprum, but now your seat has your call sign attached to it on a thick strip of fabric. When you get there, you see that the word duelist is stitched onto it, and it's attached to the seat. The seat next to that has Leica on it.
Okay, check that your bag is there,
Dave says, leaning down over the platform. You lean over as well and see that, yeah, that is your bag under your seat. People must have taken it for you during the meeting. Dave does the same and pulls the shutter on his allocated slot up and locks it, and so you copy him. As you stand up again, you see that Dave's now looking in some large rectangular lockers above your seats. You don't get to see what's in there because he clicks it shut before you get a look. What's in there? You ask him.
Oh, just stuff I've got to check on. We've all got stuff to do our own checks on, except you who get to cruise worry-free,
Dave says with a flash of a smile you don't wholly believe. Dave climbs into his own seat and starts quickly doing all sorts of buckles, and you're wondering just how you're going to remember all of that when you get in your seat. It seems that you don't have to worry about that, though, because Dave nudges all of your buckles and straps aside and guides you into place. You follow his instructions for each fastening, and before you know it, you're set in place. There's a little bit of a gap between your seat and his, but you can easily reach out to touch him, even if you're not so close as to be able to whisper in his ear. Not really the ideal circumstances for talking. Even as you're thinking that, Cuprum zips over to you, with his feet off of the floor and taking advantage of the low gravity. He gets his stuff locked away and settles into his seat at your other side. Yeah, not a great choice of audience for an out-loud conversation. Better to troll Dave instead. Luckily for you, Dave already appears to be on, well, it's not Trollian, it's green somehow from what little you can see on his arm. But you do manage to find the internal approved messaging system, a somewhat neutered version of Trollian, where only your contacts that are on the shuttles are available. Weirdly, yours isn't green. You can't help but wonder what Dave is using. Okay, we're all set now, just waiting for launch. So now can you tell me what I saw out there? Dave, I can see you talking to other people. I trolled you because I didn't think you'd want me having this conversation out loud.
Sorry, man, I'm a busy guy. I've got a ship full of fans all desperate for me.
Sure.
Words hurt, Solux.
You're trying to distract me and not doing a great job at all.
Fair. I'm mostly trying to keep you chill about this, and I am actually busy with other stuff. If I'm totally honest here, if I can get away with not telling you, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, well, the last time you were this explicitly cagey was about someone dying. So, is this the same thing?
No, but also not no.
Can I have that again, but not gibberish?
Not the same thing, but in the neighborhood of the same thing. This thing and that are on speaking terms, perhaps.
Terrifying. I kind of wish I hadn't asked.
I gave you the chance to not do that.
Am I in danger here?
Beyond being in a shuttle that's about to be launched at bonkers speed and is filled with what is effectively a big bomb for getting back off of the planet on the way back? A little. But I can make you a promise that as long as I'm here, I'm going to do everything to keep you totally safe as can be, and I'm pretty good at that.
Fuck. I mean, I trust that you're not trying to kill me. I generally like to set the bar a little higher than that.
I know. Just let me do my thing and try not to distract me, and before you know it, we will both be on a boring journey to the space station, and then it'll be just one jittery trip through the atmosphere until you're freezing your globes off. I know how much you love the cold.
I'd say why am I doing this, but we know why. So, you want me to just sit here quietly?
Yeah. Sorry, I know that sounds like a bold move there, but, I need to focus now way more than I thought I would. Just trust me for now, please. Your gut twists anxiously, and when you look over at Dave, he's looking at you pleadingly. He looks honest. He's not faking this to manipulate you, and though none of this has been anything close to an acceptable answer, you're just going to have to take it. Fine, you mumble, and Dave's smile is 100 different shades of relief. Dave returns to his palm husk displays on his forearm, and for lack of anything else you can think of to do, you start rereading through the lyrics and sheet music that Aradia gave you. Her insistence that you learn the words has haunted you since she told you about it. You don't know why the music is important. You've read it over and over before, and it means nothing to you. You don't know what happened to Vicare or how it's related to whatever is happening now. You don't know what you just saw or why your dreams have been weird at times. You don't know, and it's too late to do anything about it. A voice is fed through the speakers in your helmet, someone in the control room of the Atuan calling out call signs in turn. Each person confirms that they're present, that their things are stowed and locked, and that they're ready. They must be following a seating chart through the shuttle, because you can see each person in turn go through the shuttle. The control to answer the message is going to pop up here. You don't have to do it. You don't have it before now because you don't have the authorization. Cooper whispers to you, which is good, because you'd been looking at your display in a panic. Right, got it, you say with a nod. DDoS, status, the control voice asks. DDoS present, all checks complete, stowed, locked, and ready for launch, Cooper answers smoothly. Fuck, that's a cool call sign. Duelist, status, the voice asks. Duelist present? Shit, you didn't have anything to check. Everything's stowed, locked, and ready for launch. Shit, you hope that was okay. Leica, status, the voice asks. You sigh in relief that you passed that test. Leica, status, the voice repeats. Looking over at Dave, you can see that his eyes are completely still, and the shine that you're so used to seeing in them is gone, like they've become matte somehow. Dave is staring into nothing, his hand held motionless above the display on his arm. He's completely stationary, and you're not even sure he's breathing. Leica, status, the voice says, a little louder and a little firmer. A second passes, and Dave blinks, jerking back into awareness. Sorry about that, Control. Leica present, all checks complete, stowed, locked, and ready for launch, Dave says in a pleasant tone of voice. You stare at him, the checks on the crew move on, and Dave starts tapping away at his screen with great speed. You can't help but notice that yet again it looks green. Anxiety makes you want to fidget or bounce your leg. Normally you'd be sparking with psionics for being this anxious, but there's nowhere for that to go now, and you're already strapped into this chair. The voice from Control finishes their count of the crew, and in the central area you can see Polypa leading her flight crew through everything. It occurs to you that this is almost set up like an amphitheater, and this is a production that you've no choice but to watch. Hey, chill out, Cooper advises you, leaning over the arm of his seat to do so. Oh, wow, you hadn't thought of that. So helpful. You tell him that, only the countdown to launch begins. It's just not for your shuttle, it's for Shuttle 1.
Feel it to Control. Shuttle 1 launch phase successful. Shifting to manual controls in 3, 2, 1.
Nipetta's business-like voice reaches your ears. Control to Felid, handoff complete. Control says back primly. Ryson to Control, ready for launch on your mark, Polypa says smoothly. Wait, what the fuck? Isn't that a poison? Why has Polypa given herself a call sign that's a poison? Shouldn't that be concerning? Why is no one concerned? You're concerned! Dave isn't paying attention at all, so you guess he isn't. Panic? You? Never. Isn't this a little too soon to launch? You've seen the shuttles go off before, plenty of times with Aradia, but with her there's always been a big gap between the two, so the Atuan doesn't accidentally torpedo one shuttle with the other one. Maybe this process takes a while, but it feels soon to you. You squirm around to look at Dave. He's got a look of deep concentration on his face, his brows furrowed deeply in focus, and that doesn't actually reassure you a whole bunch. Control to Ryson, launching in T-minus 10, 9, 8. How is this not too soon? 7, 6, 5, 4. Everyone else is calm, everyone except Dave, who looks like he might burst a blood vessel from focusing this hard on who the fuck knows what. 3, 2, 1. Launch.
The sudden acceleration shoves you into your seat, but aside from it being sudden, it's not much to deal with at all. The last of the ship's artificial gravity leaves you, and you feel oddly weightless, in a way that's not really like flying at all, but it's similar to it. It's just super odd to have it done to you instead of you doing it to yourself. Ricin to control. Shuttle 2 launch successful. Shifting to manual controls in 3, 2, 1, Polypa says, counting each finger down as she speaks. One of the trolls at the flight stations starts rapidly typing now that they presumably have control back. You could be paying attention to the way that the other trolls are counting things down and reading commands or the messages control is giving you all, but you're not. Your attention is on Dave. The hum of his voice caught your ear, cutting through all the noise and grabbing your focus right away. He's singing, softly and quiet, in a way that both drops the volume and the octave. Given your current fixation on the man, hearing his voice go deep and rumbling would catch your attention in a different way, but this has the hairs on the back of your neck standing on end. He's staring blankly forward, with his eyes dull and unfocused once again. In 0G, his hair has fanned out around his head in a white halo that paints him in an almost religious light. His words are quiet and melodic, but you can catch enough to realize that you recognize them. You hastily search and find the song, able to carry along with it as he quietly sings.
The thought occurs that he started at the countdown to the controls being handed back, like it was counting him in and not the flight crew. Hastily, you scan the lyrics and catch up to him, scanning over what he's already sung.
I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. But now I'm returning with gold in great store.
There, that's where he is.
And I swear I will play the wild rover no more.
At this point, you realize that several people, not everyone, but a lot, have picked up the tune. They don't sing it, but they hum along, and you realize that Cuprum is doing so as well. At one point in the chorus, a good half-dozen people tap out a beat at the same time with their claws or fingernails on the arm of their chair.
Pulling closer to Shuttle 1, entering green zone, one of the trolls at the flight station says. Polypa looks up at Dave for a moment and then turns back to her screen. Proceed. We need to get to orange, she says firmly. The troll at the controls looks uneasy at the command, but seemingly does so. Dave hasn't moved. He's still just quietly singing to himself. You realize with a bolt of alarm that his forehead is beading with sweat, like he's putting himself through the kind of physical test he had you do. He's not moving at all, though. He's barely singing, so what's taking the effort here? Mid-verse, Dave hisses and flinches, his eyes focusing again. This time he opens up a voice channel rather than type, and with his left hand he starts to unbuckle himself. Leica to Megalodon, report, he says urgently, unbuckling his chest. Megalodon to Leica? Balance is off. Timing, maybe? Aradia's voice comes out of Dave's headset, just loud enough for you to catch it. It didn't feel like timing. We're drawing close to you, Dave says. Range report, Polypa commands. Just entering orange? The flight tech says uneasily. What's... Dave's eyes are unfocused, but his expression is one of mounting dread. It's pulling us. Me. Felid, we need to be closer, Aradia's voice says from Dave's helmet speakers. Shuttle 1 pulling closer, approaching the boundary between orange and red zones. I advise we pull back, one of the flight officers says to Polypa. Negative. Maintain current distance, Polypa says firmly. Megalodon, we're closer. We need to balance, Dave insists. Yes. Leica, stand by so I can find their tone, Aradia says, her voice faltering even to your ears. The look you're giving Dave is nothing but alarmed, but he's not paying attention to you at all.
When Aradia begins to sing, you don't just hear it through Dave's helmet speakers. You feel it in your bones, your teeth, and your marrow. Your insides lurch like you're in free fall, and your chin stings as Mituna's ring hits you. The chain tightens around your neck, pressing the band of the ring into your throat as Aradia's haunting tones resonate through you.
Come all ye pretty fair maids, wherever you may be.
Your vision goes white at the edges, like TV static, visual white noise. You're drowning in it, and the brightness of it scorches through your veins, into every cell and scrap of DNA, and you're lost. Dave is calling out, but his words are lost, though his panicked, alarmed tone still reaches you. You, whoever you are. You drift through endless white until those words pull you somewhere else. Someone else.
His hair does hang in ringlets, his eyes as black as sloes.
You would open your eyes, but they somehow already are. Focusing is harder, though. Things don't hurt now, but you're groggy, disoriented. A dim room swims into focus, and you see a girl on the floor, her hands busy with something. You're struggling, knocked about in some wave of something. She stands, one hand occupied by several packages and the other holding a tablet. God, why can't you think right? She nudges her glasses up and frowns at the tablet. Her mouth moves as she talks to you. She does talk to you. You know that. Of course you do. She gives you the good stuff, not like her ancestor. She puts the tablet down and unpackages the preloaded syringe, reaching up to put it somewhere numb. For the infection. There's always infection. She glances around, then hastily unwraps the other, for the pain. Yeah, she brings you the good stuff. You knew that. How could you forget that? She picks up her tablet again, and you shake your head slightly, trying to focus properly. Her blue eyes flick up to yours, many pupiled as she focuses on you. Her mouth opens like she's going to ask something, but she stays still and leans in close to you.
I have wandered, wept and moaned, all for my jolly sailor.
Who? You're not Mituna, Vriska says slowly, her voice reaching you despite nearly being drowned out by another. But she's the only one here speaking. Her eyes flick to the side, and your head follows, like she made you even though she doesn't. Your eyes skip over the ice chambers and onto the dead first helm of the ship. Your ancestor's corpse and biowire is long past rot and fully into only bones. He couldn't be taken out. They won't be able to get you out either soon. Something in you, something younger, shudders and recoils at the sight, and for a moment it's like you're out of sync with yourself.
Hair did hang in ringlets, his eyes were black as sloes. My happiness is with him, where he lies below.
She, the girl, is talking again. Her hand moves your face back to her, but you're hazy again, something in you trying to pull back somehow. Above you, something dark and stormy begins to brew, and you really wish it wouldn't. It's never helpful.
My jolly sailor boat.
You plummet into your seat, gasping a breath for the first time in an eternity. You have no idea what the fuck that was, but you don't have time to work it out. Dave zips past you, launching out of his seat and up to the lockers above you. His knee collides with the underside of the lockers to stop him going further, but it sounded like it hurt. A few other people have unbuckled themselves from their seats, but what's more concerning is how a lot of people haven't. They aren't doing anything. Across the room from you, there's a human man. You forget his name. He's on the science team, so you didn't talk much. His face is slack and his eyes unfocused. His limbs simply drift in place without any tension in them, unlike most other people on the ship who are reacting to the situation around them. "Race into Felid! Respond, Felid!" Polypa shouts into her microphone, but all that comes back is static. "They're not going to answer. They're under. I can balance, but it'll be a lot," Dave says as he yanks a guitar free from the case above your heads. "As in, we'll be under instead?" Polypa asks sharply. "Yeah. We can ride through it. Things will get bad, but we don't have a choice. Hawkfish, play. I can't do both if it's this big," Dave says, and whips the guitar through the shuttle to Lunk, where it knocks it back a little bit, bumping him into a sailor who is entirely unresponsive.
Play what? Lonk asks as he arranges the guitar the right way for playing. What? You start to ask, but Kuprum's hand is suddenly over your mouth. He's out of his seat and really close to you now. You need to sing it if you're awake. Don't question shit. It's not the time. Kuprum hisses to you as quietly as possible. Flying Dutchman, Dave answers. You have no idea what the fuck that means, but from the reactions of everyone around you, you're guessing it's nothing good. Palapa opens her mouth, but decides better of asking anything, and it occurs to you that Dave didn't ask permission. Hastily, you search your palm husk through the display on your arm, grateful that your files are still viewable through this. You find the song. Aradia told you to learn them, and you have a horrible feeling that this is the worst kind of test to have.
Lonk starts to strum, his claws moving fast over the neck of the guitar. Dave kicks away from the wall and catches himself near the middle of the shuttle on one of the guide ropes and breathes in deeply for a moment. He starts to sing. Ordinarily, you might think the lyrics dumb. You've seen them before as you read everything, and it seemed like a stupid sea shanty, but as Dave sings, his words are dark. Deep shadows grow in your mind as every letter goes through, like everything is in bold, heavy font.
The sky was gray and cloudy, and the wind was from the west, when we spied a battered frigate with her tattered sail full dressed.
Dave moves slowly in the air, his hair shifting like he's underwater instead of in space. He opens his eyes as he goes on, and you jolt to see that there's no red in them at all. They're black completely. No one but Dave is singing yet, and you kind of get why. Every word Dave utters draws the tension higher and higher, and it feels like every shadow in the room is deeper and darker. The shadows behind the seats on one half of the room flow up the walls, and you know that you're looking through them somehow. The stars in the distance are flickering out one by one, but each of them is outshone by the crackling haze of white scorching through the endless darkness next to you. Dave raises his hand, and you've never seen a wave. Not in person. Never been on a planet or in any body of water big enough. Sure, you've seen water move in a pool and you've seen movies, but this is so much bigger and so much worse. You can see through the shuttle, and like a horrible optical illusion, you can see a storm cloud of darkness so big in every direction that you feel like you should claw your eyes out just to stop yourself from looking at it. When Dave raises his hand, it's like a wave of endless, impossible blackness rises up, big enough and powerful enough to embarrass every disaster movie you've ever seen. The wave crests, dark bubbling foam picked out in colors that are all somehow black but not. A rainbow of dark you could never have imagined. The wave crashes down towards you. Dave's mouth moves with the words he's singing, and at once, in notes of panic and terror, everyone who is still conscious sings with him. In sheer terror, you stare down at your screen and hurry the fuck up to join them. Your eyes flick up on the screen just in time to see it. The wave crashes over Shuttle 1, over Radia's shuttle. The static and unbearable brightness around you are snuffed out in an instant, darkness filling in all the places it should be, so it's almost a black and white photograph of itself. But the dark is still rushing to you, and Dave is staring right at it. The wave hits the ship, throwing you against the side of your seat. For a horrible moment, the only sound is Lonk on the guitar, and the lights flick off for just a second. Around you, alarms are beeping, and the second the lights return, you see that Dave hasn't moved. He hangs there with darkness formed in bands around his wrists, his chest, and his ankles. Something coils off of his skin like strings or something, but whatever it is, it seems like he's able to stay grounded even as everything around comes apart. Dave leans forward as the words come out of him. That's how it feels, that the song exists, and he's just a bit in the middle. He turns his head slowly and looks around as much as he can, and his endlessly dark eyes go past you and you stare at him. His skin around his eyes is going black, like every blood vessel in his thin human skin is moving oil instead of blood. Everyone else is quiet again now, looking around uneasy. Like Dave, they seem to be searching for something. It definitely doesn't feel like you're going to get out of whatever that was that easily. As you think that, the shuttle lurches as if Dave's next words were already set in stone. You know he's not responding to what's happening, they're pre-written on your screen.
Our ship would crest a giant wave and crash to the trough below.
The shuttle shakes underneath you, and you think Sponge is desperately working out just how much it can take from what you've read of the schematics of it. The chorus starts again, and this time you only have to check the screen a few times to know you're singing the right part.
Turn the ship around me, boys, turn around and run.
A screech of metal makes you falter over the next words. Somewhere up and to the right of you, the metal of the hull sounds like it must be buckling. You're prepared for your helmet to snap shut as the whole cabin violently depressurizes, but no, this is worse. Fingers press through the hull. Shadowy and partly transparent, but clearly fingers. There's a push and then hands, wrists, forearms, all reaching in and clawing blindly towards you all. Then without any warning, they're dismembered, sliced cleanly apart with the fallen parts fading to nothing. You're mute in shock as several parts of the shuttle's hull are also infested with searching hands and then destroyed. You're so focused on the other side of the ship that you don't see what's happening right by you until too late. Shadowy hands burst through the hole and around your chair, digging their fingers into your arms and pulling you. You realize in horror that this might be how you die. It's looking pretty fucking likely, at least. All you can think about is everything you should have done, everything you didn't get the chance to do. Your failed relationship with Aradia, all the ways you could have maybe saved it, all the things you never said to Karkat because you missed your chance, all the times you could have been honest with him about how much you cared for him but kept that back so you could tease him or say something dumb. The hands clutch you tight enough to bruise and try to drag you out of your seat. You're going to die in space and no one's ever going to find you and you'll be nothing but a preserved corpse in a cloud of regret. Your chair shakes violently and the arms are severed. You can't see anything, but you feel something. Something that freezes you in place and sends a chill up the back of your neck. You don't see anything different as your head is pushed up against the back of your seat. Dave is still there with his blank eyes and ominous song. There's no one in front of you. There's no one who smacks you in the face because there's no one there. There's no one who jerks your head down so you can see the screen on your arm. But as you look at the lyrics and realize you're meant to catch up, you swear you catch something for just a second. The edge of someone at the far corner of your eye, and then it's gone. You're lost and out of place. It's just Dave singing again now, and behind him, you can hear one of the flight crew hissing to Polypa that you're too close to the planet. The chorus hits again, and this time you know better than to stay quiet, so you sing with them.
For they knew what was at stake.
Turn the ship around me, boys, turn around and run.
All you can look at is Dave. His hair is still a halo, but streaks of black are running through it. At first you think his hair is actually changing color, but no, tears are running from Dave's eyes. You've never seen someone cry in zero gravity, but without gravity pulling at them, his inky tears drift free and smear through his hair as he moves his head. He looks like he's in pain. The dark things holding him in place look like they hurt, and you want to go over there and tear him free, but you don't know if your interference would get you both killed along with everyone else. Dave's hands are shaking as he stays tense against semi-real restraints. Darkness crackles around his tense fingers like someone took a video of your psionics sparking and inverted it to be flashes of night. Below where Dave floats and you're crucified in the air, screens flash and alarm as the flight crew and Polypa try to do what they can.
There must have been 100, and that's when we realized these moldy parchments were addressed to those who'd long since died.
You feel the swell to the last chorus, and you sing it, but you don't think you're going to make it. And it's not the crushing terror like you felt with those hands on you. It's the burning demand that this can't be it. You move, and Natuna's floating ring bumps your skin. He's gone, and you're not. You can't just die like this when he's gone.
That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails.
For a second, there's a whiteness at the edges of your vision, probably stress. But across the room, Dave stops singing and floats limply and unrestrained in the air.
Before you can have a second thought, or even a first, you attack the buckles and straps keeping you in place and kick out of your chair, sailing through the air. You catch Dave in your arms, ignoring the panicked orders flying between the flight crew below you. "Get back there!" one of the sailors near you shouts, pointing to your seats.
Adjusting course, the entry angle is too steep,
one of the flight crew shouts. "The fuel will explode if we take that angle," another shouts. Shit. You hit the wall feet first and kick you and Dave back. Lank is locking the guitar away and grabs Dave from you as you get close. He tosses him in his seat and starts hurriedly strapping him in. "Solix!" Kupram hisses at you, and in a panic you scramble back into your own seat. Kupram unbuckles himself enough so he can lean over and get you locked in place, and when you're done, you look over to see Lank just strapping himself in. "Jettison the fuel," Polypa orders.
Beginning jettison procedure,
another replies. "Comms are fried," one of the flight crew says. You hear a lot of loud metal sounds and a hiss of hydraulics. Around you, the shuttle starts to shake. You hold onto your armrests, white-knuckled as you look around at Dave. He's clearly out cold, but you see his chest hitch and his mouth moves slightly. "Jettisoned," one of the flight crew says. "Brace for entry," Polypa calls out to the shuttle as a whole. The ship is suddenly hit with something, and for a horrible moment you're flipping end over end over end. Flights stabilize you, but the air is filled with shrill alarms. Something red drifts upward past your face, and you realize in horror that it's blood, just not yours, obviously. Gravity is coming back as you enter the atmosphere. The nose of the shuttle above you is entering first, and you know that for most of this you're going to be upside down. You twist as much as you can against the rising pressure of the G-forces trying to keep you in place. Dave is out cold, strapped into his seat, and you can see blood dripping from his nose up to the ceiling of the room. You try to reach for him, but this is so much more force than you ever got in that centrifuge. You're strapped in, and your arm weighs 1,000,000 tons. You've got no psionics right now, and there's nothing you can do. The flight crew shout out through each stage of re-entry, and your vision goes black for a hot second when the parachutes are deployed and you're snapped right way up again. They shout about softening the landing by burning all of the maneuvering power on downward force. It's still a crash landing, but aside from a lot of bruises, you think you're fine. Your whole body is jelly for a few seconds, but you manage to unbuckle yourself. Twisting to look at Dave, you can see that he's slumped forward against his safety belts with a stream of blood running down his otherwise pristine white spacesuit. Marcy beats you to him, pushing Dave back into his chair and calling his name. He's still out cold, and dread fills you as she presses her hand to his neck to feel for a pulse, her other by his nose and mouth. "He's not breathing," Marcy says quietly. "What?" You yelp and get to your feet as she unbuckles him. "He can't be dead. You didn't hear him, right? Unless you missed him in all that chaos, but no, surely not." "DDoS, Duelist, down here now. I need these systems working," Polypa barks up at you. Marcy pulls Dave from his seat and onto the floor at your feet. She leans over and starts CPR. You've only seen it in movies. "Solux!" Cooper hisses as he leaps to his feet. You're not medical. You can't help him with this, but you can do your job. If you can fix whatever's broken here, maybe it'll make something that can save him work. You rush after Coopram and scramble into Polypa's vacated seat as Coopram pushes another flight crew member aside to get theirs. "You get comms and nav, I'll do the shuttle," Coopram says, his fingers already flying over the keys. Right. Well, communications is fucking dead. That's your diagnosis. You tap through the communications settings and diagnostics until you can confirm that it's a hardware failure. Not surprising, as part of the comms relay is external, so it can, communicate. Given the shit show of atmospheric entry, you'll bet that the external part got fucked up. Nothing you can do from here. Across the room, there's a sudden hacking cough, and you glance over quickly to see Marcy suddenly sit up, wiping her mouth on the back of her glove. Dave must be breathing. That must be him. You have work to do. You push your glasses up a little and track your geographical positioning. The entry was terrible, but you weren't meant to get to the planet at all. As it is, you're on the same continent as the established base. More than that is hard to tell. The fine-tuned instruments that would help you navigate are deeply unhappy. Whether that's from being on Somnos or the crash, you can't tell. It occurs to you, logically, that there's no way you can be here. It should have taken you nearly an hour to get to the space station and dock, and that's in orbit. You were in flight for, 10 minutes maybe? Magic shadow hands tried to murder you, and Dave somehow sang something that fucked reality up. Logic got detonated somewhere back there with the shuttle's fuel. Trying to calculate your position from how long you were flying and the angle isn't going to do anything for you here. Think outside the box. You pull up the shuttle's manifest. There's several square wave units on here. You could... Can I deploy a bot to try to get our position? You check with Polypa. "Whatever you have to do," she nods. It takes a little bit for the shuttle's cargo system to get one of the square wave units out, and in that time you shoot another glance Dave's way. You can't see him exactly, but the people around him look relieved. Interestingly, you managed to see one of the people who'd been catatonic when everything went down, and you just catch the person next to them looking in their eyes and saying something about a concussion. If that was Dave talking, you'd call him out on being a fucking liar, but it's not him. The square wave unit deploys from the bottom of the shuttle, where the few external cameras show that you're propped up against a large rock formation. Holy shit, you could have hit that. You really need to learn the names of the flight crew and buy them drinks whenever they want them for perhaps the rest of time. You open a text channel to the square wave bot and pause for a moment.
You have 5 other square wave bots, so you deploy those too and set them around the shuttle in equal distance, like you're a star with several incredibly weird robotic satellites. You return to your open text channel to the square wave bot, and with a sigh and a commitment to never telling Hal about this, you type. Hi, my name is what?
My name is... Who? Hi, my name is... What? My name is... It's named Sadie.
The chat explodes into recursive nonsense, and you quickly filter out responses from your 6 square wave bots and wait.
It's named Sadie.
This is the dumbest way you've ever done anything worthwhile. You take a moment to check the logs of each of the square waves you picked up, the distant reply, and then work out which got the reply first, which gives you a direction, especially when you check the data against the other bots, and the reply time gives you a reasonably accurate guess as to distance. According to the records you have, Square Wave 74 is stationed in Omega Base as an internal maintenance bot, which means he's unlikely to have gone far. Omega Base is roughly 500 kilometers away from here at this heading, you explain to Polypa. She leans over you and squints at your results before nodding slowly. That's a stroke of luck. I sure as hell could use it after that. And what about the shuttle's communications? She asks. It's an external part that's damaged, Cooper answers for you. Omega Base would have enough strength to communicate with the satellite to get a message back to the Atuan if that's what you wanted, you add. Holy shit, given that explosion, they might think you're all dead. Oh god. Could you fix that part on the shuttle? Polypa asks you. I can try. I don't know how badly damaged it is, you answer, not wanting to overcommit here. Marsty, how's Dave holding up? Polypa asks, dropping into your actual names now that she's not barking orders. He's going to be fine. He aspirated some blood since he's got a nosebleed going. Between that and the landing, it screwed with his breathing, but he's good now. I think he just needs to rest. I wouldn't say he's fit to travel just yet, though. Not unless we really have to move him, Marshty tells her. Polypa nods silently for a moment, and you can see her putting things together in her mind. Everyone listen up. We're taking vehicles we have to Omega Base to try to re-establish contact there and get shelter. Start getting the vehicles ready, save for one. Only take what we need to survive. We'll come back for everything else. DDoS, you're with us. You need to fix anything with the comms that's broken on Omega. Duelist, you're staying here with Laika. Try to repair the communications if you can, and keep an eye on him until he wakes up, Polypa says. There's a chorus around you of yes, sir, and everyone starts moving to go and do what they've been told. You stay put and try to work out what the hell you're going to do and what the fuck just happened to you. What the fuck just happened to you, indeed? Smile. I hope you enjoyed the most things having chapter. 3 songs plus soundboard fun times. You can see why this one I gave a lot of thought. Listen, I commit. Me and YouTube MP3 conversion sites can do anything we want forever. You see, Wander, that is exactly what Solux is thinking. Yay! Yeah, gosh, that was the first super difficult song sequence. Yes. Me and the bit are in it forever. Nothing can separate us.
That was the first super difficult song sequence because there's just so much text. And I think that's where I got... Well, I can't remember if I went in order, but the two of those with the static, that will happen a lot. Not a lot. A little bit a lot. I can't remember how much. It will happen again. This is a threat. If I could, I literally, I adjusted them a tiny bit. Literally last night. If I would have had more time, I likely would have actually re-narrated probably all of that last one because I spoke so quietly. And maybe it's just specifically me and my auditory processing that makes it hard to follow along. Okay, well that's actually really fun to know because I can definitely hear the slight difference in audio quality. Or I've just heard the openings to all of these like so many times. But yeah, it was definitely not an easy one to pull off, and I was very proud that I figured something out. And that is how I continued to feel for all of the other ones that were quite difficult. Yeah. Now, why would it be intentional? I'm a damn idiot when it comes to audio. Okay. You saying that to me makes me feel things. Oh, that makes me very happy to see, to read. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, so my first time through this fic, I read that chapter, and I think I had wanted it to be the last chapter I read that day. But then it ended like that, and I was like, no, I have to figure out what the fuck that was. And so I immediately pressed next chapter. Unfortunately for y'all, today is Tuesday. So we won't be back here until Thursday. So I leave you for a day to ponder this. God. You saying that makes me just... My brain... My brain has an animatic maker, but the rest of me does not have an animatic maker, so I can't actually make any animatics, but I can imagine them. And... Oh, God, if only they had brain projector. Project the thoughts that are in your brain, in your mind's eye, so that everyone else can see them. Because that would slap. God, I just thought about a scene in a later chapter that I would love to do brain projector on. Anyway. Anyway. Something happened in space. Something happened in space, and it's scary. Oh, gosh.
You guys are nice to me. Well, with that absolutely insane shenanigans did happen in space, and you guys are just going to have to chew on that for a while. God. The thing I want to say, I'm going to have to say after next chapter. Okay. It'll be fine. Also, I can clear these out of my soundboard now. Not that I necessarily need to, I just, Hal is the one who set all of this in motion. We owe everything to Hal Strider. Including our lives, perhaps. Yeah. So I'm very I would say don't blame me, blame the schedule, but y'all already know that I made the schedule, so I guess it is my fault. I think about it this way. I was gonna say, think about it this way. If you were following the fic as it was coming out, it would be at least a week, possibly more, between chapters. So you would just be sitting here on this and being like, well, now what? Am I just supposed to go about my fucking life? I got the chance being I am cursed to get into media so much later than I should, and then wonder why the fuck it took me so long, because it's like perfectly designed to appeal to me. I got the wonderful chance to just hit this button right here. I'm not going to do that for you. God. I still don't know what took me so long to start this one. Because I think... Yeah, based on... Here. 1 second. Yeah, based on when it started, I was still probably working my way through alternate universe when this... when Your Words Destroyed My Planet started happening. I remember there being only like 7 or 8 chapters when I first saw it. But I was still working on AU at the time, and I wanted to, marinate in that for a while. But then I don't know why after that it took so long. I don't know. The answer is either brain or life. But yeah, I shouldn't have waited, but it was well worth the wait. I didn't need to wait. But I'm glad I got there. Anyway, I'm gonna go get the VOD up for this so that y'all can replay them song sequences as much as you like. I mean, you can do that on Twitch, I think. But I will go ahead and
get that started. So, for now, I wish you a wonderful time zone and a very happy ponder the end of that chapter for 46 hours. You're welcome. You're welcome for casting the spell upon ye not knowers, and for ye yes knowers, for ye yes knowers, thank you for coming. For you not knowers, smiles at you. I'll catch y'all on Thursday. So yeah, have a good night.
Good boy.